I am Ferdinand Marcos, and I am the President of the Republic of the Philippines. I stand today on behalf of 110 million Filipinos.
Thank you very much for an inspiring address. You've been kind enough to take perhaps 2 or 3 questions. So I will scan the room and see if an arm is raised or a hand or another gesture. There we are. If you were to stand up, sir, a microphone will come to you. May I remind you that we need a question, and take no more than 60 seconds if you can, as will your successor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Give me this wonderful chance to ask a question to our President. Mr. President, I noticed in your speech you mentioned many times about ASEAN centrality. You review the TAC, which your father signed, that showed the bond of ASEAN. I think the ASEAN centrality is very important, but we cannot take it for granted. It comes from the ASEAN way, the 3 principles. First, mutual respect. Second, consensus building. Third, considerate other parties' comfort level. In my words, to put it simply, we can summarize it as 3 no's: non-intervention, and no use of force, and no hyping up hot spots. Only because of these principles strictly followed by ASEAN members and other stakeholders that we have ensured the ASEAN and East Asia at large for a long-lasting peace since the end of the colonial rules in history. So we cherish a lot. I fully agree with you. I support the centrality of ASEAN. And even some professor like Cashion Makboni, he suggests ASEAN is deserved to award the Nobel Peace Prize. I agree with him.
Thank you very much. I think your question is, do you agree with me? So President Marcos,
yes,
please.
My question is, President, in the eyes of the international community, some of your Philippines' behavior in recent times, it now sounds like you really consider other parties' comfort level, and there is a risk of ruining the regional long-earned, long-lasting peace since the end of the colonial history. What's your comments on that? Thank you very much.
Well, I cannot imagine what you must be referring to if the reference or the allusion is to the Philippines somehow tearing apart what we have agreed on with in ASEAN in terms of ASEAN centrality. Quite the contrary. I think if you examine more closely the remarks that I just made, I precisely focus on ASEAN centrality, and that the principles that are laid down that are involved in the concept of ASEAN centrality are some things that we must use to guide us. And if we have been distracted in the past years or so, then it's time for us to return and remember, once again, what ASEAN was created for. And that is to create an aggregation of nations that have very many common interests, and that can be, and that partnerships within that multilateral organization can help each other and help the region. And so the Philippines is still remains true to the principles that were established and upon which ASEAN was born. And I think, as I said, that many of these things we no longer speak of today, but we must, because they are as relevant today as they ever were, perhaps even more so, because the global situation is a great deal more complicated than it used to be before. I would even go far as to say there is no such thing as a regional issue any longer. We have all experienced the unexpected effects of the war in Ukraine, of the conflict in the Middle East, and all of these. And when we talk about the South China Sea, we have to also remember that the South China Sea is the passageway for half of the world trade, and therefore the peace and stability of the South China Sea and the freedom of navigation of the South China Sea is a world issue. And that is what I am proposing. And I am saying that yes, it is a regional issue, but we must examine and be part of the discussion. We must include all parties in that discussion, because now it is not just ASEAN member states who are stakeholders. And it is quite easy to see that it is in fact the entire world that have become stakeholders in the peace and stability of our region.
Thank you. I'll take one question. Yes, you, sir, with your hand up. If you stand up, it might attract magnetically a microphone towards you. Thank you very much. And immediately after your question, once you've identified yourself, I'll ask a third person for the final question. The President will take both. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, John. It's Dimitri Sevastopoulos from the Irish delegation of two people. Another small country. President Marcos, I'm going to ask you a very direct question, if you don't mind, which is, if Chinese Coast Guard water cannons killed a Filipino sailor, would that cross a red line? And then can you also give us a sense of what are the actions that would trigger a request from Manila to Washington to invoke the U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty? Thank you.
And I will ask as the last question, Justin Bakisal. If you could stand, I know you sought the floor, and if a microphone were to come to you, you're right over there. Thank you. And the President will then answer both questions. Thank you. You're one of our young leaders from ASEAN, so please go ahead.
Magandang gabi, Mr. President. Good evening, Mr. President. My question relates to your vision for the force posture of the Philippines by the end of your term. So the Philippines has always discussed that the defense of our national territory is primarily our responsibility under the unilateral defense plan. So what specific force packages are you eyeing particularly in the next coming years, and what exactly are we to expect after Horizon 3 of the AFP modernization program? Thank you.
Thank you. It is what the gentleman is referring to, the Horizon 3 acquisition program, is the acquisition program that our Department of National Defense has just completed. Then we are presently in the process of finding suppliers for all the different requirements that we have to build up our capabilities in the armed forces of the Philippines, and that we are hoping that these acts are just a deterrence, and we, as they say, to work for peace, prepare for war, and it is an unfortunate truth. But and that is why we have undertaken this long-term. It has been going on for many years now. This long-term plan of increasing the capabilities of our military and our civilians, such as the Coast Guard in the Philippines. To go back to the first question, what would happen if there was an incident that ended up killing a Filipino serviceman, be they a Coast Guard or in the military and part of the Navy? Well, that would be that would certainly increase the level of response, and if by a willful act on a Filipino not only servicemen, but even a Filipino citizen, if a Filipino citizen is killed by a willful act, that is, I think, very, very close to what we define as an act of war, and therefore we will respond accordingly. And our treaty partners, I believe, also hold that same standard for when the actions, with the joint action, will be undertaken in support of any such incident in the Philippines. Once we already have suffered injury, but thank God we have not yet gotten to the point where any of our participants, civilian or otherwise, have been killed. But once we get to that point, that is certainly, we would have crossed the Rubicon, certainly crossed the Rubicon. Is that a red line? Almost certainly it's going to be a red line.
Mr. President, you have helped us to set the agenda, you have provoked our thinking, you spurred us to action. That is the keynote speech that we needed. That is the keynote speech that we got. You have sung for your supper. I think it's time for you to enjoy it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello people and hello universe, it's me again. Shoutout sa inyo mga kababayan. Ayan, nahuli yung shoutout. But anyway guys, napanood nyo yung speech ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. At ito yung isa sa mga interview, no? O question and answer. So itong general na ito mga kababayan, no? Kung narinig nyo ang kanyang tanong kay Pangulong Marcos Jr., parang sa tingin ko lang guys, yung nakikita ko dito, parang ang dating parang tayo pa ang pinagbibintangan. Tama ba ako? Siyempre, dahil matalino ang Pangulo ng Pilipinas, mga kababayan, talagang sinagot niya ng maayos, di ba? Makikita, talagang supalpal sila dito. At least na iparating sa buong mundo na ang Pilipinas, kahit kailan mga kababayan, hindi tayo nauuna ang nanggugulo. Actually, napaka-humble pa nga natin mahaba yung pasensya natin. Kung narinig yung powerful speech ni Pangulong Marcos Jr., sa tingin ko lang doon guys, yun ang the best at very powerful speech na kanyang nagawa. Para sa lahat po yun mga kababayan, no? Parang ang dating sa akin parang diplomatic speeches na yun, protest, no? Para sa bansang Chikwa, para malaman nila ang stand ng Pilipinas na kahit isang dangkal na sinabi ng Pangulo, walang sinong pwedeng mag-angkin sapagkat ito ay pag-aari ng Pilipinas. Sayang lang talaga Bakit? Hindi siya ang naging Pangulo noong 2016 dahil nanalo tayo sa UNCLOS, di ba? Sa Arbitral Award. Tayo ang nanalo. Laban sa mga salot sa lipunan. So, ibig sabihin, sa atin po yan. Sakop po ng economic zone natin. Kung nagkataon siya ang naging Pangulo, never at never mangyayari guys yung issue ng yung kinasasangkutan ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte regarding this sa secret deal na ito. Nandyan lang ang dahilan Kaya si Pbbm ang nagmana. Siya ang magre-resolba na I really wish na ang Panginoon gabayin ang Pangulong Marcos Jr. na mabawi yung para sa atin, yung economic zone natin. Nang sa ganun, makakabalik, maglalayag at maghanap buhay ang mga mangingisda dyan po sa Maho di Masinloc, dyan sa Ayungin Shoal. Yun ang problema natin, isa sa mga problema natin. Kawawa kasi nawalan sila ng trabaho mga kababayan. Yan ang pinupursige ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. Yan po ang isa sa pinakamagandang paraan, yung pagpunta niya dyan po sa Singapore. Nang sa ganun, maipahatid yung hinanaing ng Pilipinas tungkol dito sa issue na ito. Kung napakinggan nyo mabuti ng husto, mga kababayan, na ang Pilipinas ay ipagtatanggol at i-defend kung ano ang mayroon sa atin. Yan si Pangulong Marcos Jr. Nako, mga kababayan, kung talagang nakakatayo ng balahibo. So far, so good ako. Speechless ako sa kanyang tapang, no? At sinasabi nila weak leader. Yan bang weak leader? Buti pa ito, talagang ginagawa niya with action. Sa pamamagitan ng pananalita, talaga namang sapul ang Chikwa dito mga bes. Di tulad ng isang Pangulo, puro mura, wala naman sa gawa. no? So, dito sa kanyang Q&A, guys, na talagang supalpal itong Chinese general na ito. Naloka ako. Oh, napakinggan nyo yung kanyang sagot. Kaya ganyan sa katapang, mga besa. So, yun guys, see you again on my next upload video. Bye, bye, bye. And, babush. God bless Philippines.